Hello and welcome to Hopeful Conversations. I'm Vicki Montague, and today I am joined by a wonderful lady called Danielle Dixon. Now, Danielle, I got speaking to, I think it was at the beginning of this year. It feels like it was a long time ago, but I think it was only January. And we had the most amazing connection online, beautiful conversation. And I think it came about because I believe you had been buying my flower blend, hadn't you? My gluten-free flower blend.
I
Is that
had,
right?
yeah, and I think I commented on one of your posts, and it sort of
Yes.
started from there.
Yeah. So it was one of those kind of chance connections, and I reached out and we had an amazing conversation, like I say. And at the end of it, I was just blown away by what Danielle had to offer, and I desperately wanted to have her on the podcast. And it's taken me this long to pin her down. So yes, Danielle is a holistic wellness coach and has got an amazing story. Oh, my dog has joined us in the background. An amazing story to share around her own health journey, and how she works with people now. So I'm going to hand straight over to Danielle because I don't want to take up any of the valuable time and incredible messages that she has to share. So Danielle, do you want to just tell us a little bit to begin with, about where you were at with your health and kind of what happened and what's changed since?
So it all started with my daughter. She was born with cow's milk allergy after about 8 weeks, and she had recurrent infections until she was 7 years old. We were always in the hospital with her, recurrent tonsillitis, lots of antibiotics. And it reached a point where I could tell her body was really struggling with the overload of medication. We weren't really getting any answers. And that really took me sort of down a more holistic route and seeing if we could look at trying to get her body back into balance and healing her naturally. And around the same time that we were having some progress with her, my health had slowly deteriorated. But it's things that you just think are normal because you're working and you're busy. And so I would have recurrent sort of cold sores and ulcers and aches and pains and dry eyes and headaches. And this sort of got progressively worse and worse and worse. And it reached a point when I worked in law for over 20 years. And I would have the shakes, really bad brain fog. My hair was falling out in lumps. I lost 2 stone. I'd write everything down that was going on. I had 3 pages of symptoms of what was going on with me. And I was referred for loads of testing, every part of my body scanned. And what had then happened to me, because of myself and my daughter, I then started to develop a health anxiety, which then led to sort of a really crippling anxiety to the point I wouldn't go out of the house, and I stopped speaking to people, and I started to really go within myself. And it reached a point when I finally got a thyroid disease diagnosis. And at that point, the doctors and the people I was under, consultants I was under, just decided that all of my symptoms were my thyroid. Everything's your thyroid,
Right.
that's the problem, here's the label, this is it. The only options to fix that or to help that were just a lifetime of medication, or therapy on my thyroid. And I remember being sent for a PET scan, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I'd been prodded and poked, and the only explanation that I was given was I had an autoimmune disease, which meant my own body was attacking itself. And I thought, my body wouldn't attack itself. My body is amazing, it's beautiful. All it wants is for me to be well. Like none of it really sat right with me. And I just had this sort of moment of clarity, I guess, where I just thought, then there has to be another way. There must be another way. And so that's when I started looking into sort of alternative therapies, alternative treatment, and trying to use natural resources to heal, because I've always believed that everything we need to heal is here on earth for us. I truly believe that. And so this turned into this huge research project, up all night reading and doing every possible protocol I could. Some things didn't resonate with me, some things did. I tried lots of diets and lots of holistic things. And I soon come to realize that it wasn't just about the food. While that was a key element, I'd become so anxious, and I'd stepped out of my own power. I was always looking for someone else to help me, make me feel better. And I just thought, there was so much going on. I'd reached a complete sort of breaking point, but I know I had to get to that breaking point for me to think, right, I need to do something. I need to make a change. So then I just went on this healing journey. I really changed my diet. I removed foods from my diet. I ate a lot more healing foods, did lots of mindset work, lots of emotional and trauma work, lots of work around my energy. And after about a year, I suddenly realized, because the main major symptoms were obvious, but when I looked back at all of my, because I had a file of all of my medical notes, it's quite thick. And when I look back at the symptoms, things had just slowly fallen away one by one. You know, no more digestive issues. I used to have a problem with swallowing, all these little things. My hands and arms used to get so numb that at one point I was making a cake in the kitchen and my finger got caught in the hand blender, but because I lost feeling in my hand, I didn't realize it was caught until it started to bleed. And then I crashed my car into a gate because I lost feeling in my hands. And I was thinking, this is crazy. But once I started to heal, these things all just dropped away. And after about a year, I just felt like a new person. My daughter was completely healed, by the way, from everything. So we cut gluten out of her diet and did a few other things with her gut health. And she's never ill now. I just realized we had our lives back. We had our health back. We had our power back. And I was so inspired by this that I left my job in law that no one could understand. Everyone thought I was mad. I've been doing it for such a long time. And I just went down a different road. I was really drawn towards helping people and trying to be the person I needed when I was looking for answers, because I looked everywhere, and a lot of information now in the holistic field, as you probably know, Vicki, is really conflicting. So you read something and then you go somewhere else and they say, well, no, you know, you don't want to drink that, you don't want to take the supplement, and you're like, where do I start? So I think, having experienced it yourself, you're in such a better place to really understand how someone feels. And I'm actually helping somebody at the moment with her daughter, and I know exactly how she's feeling. And I think when it's your child, you have to be so strong all the time. And for her to know that, I mean, I think everyone's sort of sick of hearing her speak about it. I was the same. All you want is for your child to be well. But to be able to know how somebody feels and to genuinely say, I know I was there myself, I feel now like this is my purpose in life. And I've felt lost for a lot of my life, feeling like I enjoyed my job. I felt like I didn't really know, what am I here for? And I didn't really ever feel like I fitted in completely in the world as it was. But now I know it's because I'm here to be part of a new world and here to create something new for everybody. And so I feel like I'm really living my purpose, and to be able to give back and help others. Now I understand why I went through all of that, so that I'm at this point and I can then inspire and help others reclaim their power over their own health and understand that their body can heal. Our bodies are capable of healing. We just need to give them what they need. And often the symptoms are our body screaming at us like we need help. And if we listen to them and we tune into ourselves and we really listen and understand and we create a state of balance, our bodies are capable of miracles, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm absolutely with you on our bodies have, they have everything they need. And we just forget that. We think that there's something that we need to do, or we need to go and get some, like medication, which we may need. But that whole concept of the body works perfectly. What does it need? And like you say, we kind of forget that question. We forget to ask or stop for a moment to check in with it. And I love what you described about the symptoms are just a way of the body kind of communicating with us. And that's exactly how I see it too, that we get symptoms and often what we do is suppress them. We go and take a tablet and we get rid of the symptom, and then we're like, great, I can carry on doing my life. And we do that over and over and over again. And often it takes us to get to the point of actual like collapse before we, effectively our bodies make us stop. But what a gift it is for people, even if the only thing people take away from this conversation is that symptoms are there for us. The body isn't working against us. It's not misbehaving or malfunctioning. It's just trying to tell us something. And just hearing your story of, I would imagine working in law is a full-on stressful environment to be in. You know, it kind of comes almost as no surprise to hear that you had the symptoms that you had, and it kind of evolved into what it evolved into. It's like the body's trying to tell you you're being too busy, or you're doing too much, or you're too stressed, or whatever. But we just in the way we're brought up in the Western world, we're just not told that. We just take more and more tablets to get rid of it so that we can carry on. So yeah, I love that. And I suppose what I'm curious about is, I don't know whether you can remember back to that time, but what was it that kind of, I mean, where did the idea come from to go out and try something different?
I think it was, and this is what I think is happening in the world now. People are really busy, and there's so much conditioning about you go to school and you get your education and you get a good job and you work hard and then you retire. And people are so stuck in this sort of groundhog day of work and stress and picking kids up and getting back home and doing dinner. Not only do they not have a lot of opportunity to listen to themselves, but a lot of the signals you get, the early ones, you just think, oh, it's because I'm tired, oh, it's because I'm stressed, and you sort of ignore it, or, you know, take a paracetamol, but those symptoms over time, your body's just going to scream louder and louder and louder at you. And so I think for me, it was like an inner calling. It was like this intuitive feeling. And I've always been quite, I suppose, I've always been quite spiritual, but often sort of, you know, the ego mind and having a busy life, I suppose I didn't really tune into it, but I just had this calling, feeling in my gut. This didn't feel right. And I know with my daughter, as I said, it sort of coincided with seeing real progress with her. I suppose that gave me confidence, because for her, I would have done anything. I just wanted her well. I would have done anything. And so I think just really listening and tuning into myself. And after being told, as I said before, it's autoimmune, I didn't believe my body would attack itself. That really doesn't sit right with me. There's something about that. I can't, although I wanted a diagnosis because I wanted validation for all this stuff that was going on, it wasn't in my head and I looked physically unwell. It was like, I can't accept that my body would attack itself and harm itself. This just doesn't sit right with me. This just doesn't feel right. So I think for me, it was reaching a point where when I finally tapped into my inner knowing, my inner guidance, and I was like, I'm going to follow this. This was the start of me really taking my power back. And a lot of people in life get little nudges to sort of go somewhere or do something. And often their mind will then kick in and say, no, you don't want to do that. Oh, you know, you're too busy. We probably miss opportunities in life where we don't follow those little urges, because all the answers we ever need to know are inside us. And we often ignore messages from our inner guidance. So I think that was it. It was that real pull to, and some things I found didn't work, but then when I look back, they led me to something else. So by looking at that, it led me to something else. So I completely trusted now when I look back on it, that the path was perfect as it was. There were twists and turns, but it was meant to happen in that way to lead me to where I was led. And everything that's happened to me has led me to where I am now. It's all been a lesson, a learning curve, and wasn't particularly nice at the time, but when I look back at it, I'm really grateful for it. It was a really beautiful experience, because to be able to inspire, if in life you just inspire one person to improve their wellness and make their life better, and they inspire one person, that's still a huge achievement.
And I think it's beautiful, you know, you what your effective, you know, you obviously went through a whole load of different things. I mean, what occurred to you to do from following that guidance was a whole series of different things. But what I think I'm hearing is that, you know, when something didn't work, you didn't then kind of beat yourself up about it or stick with it because you had to, but you were open enough to kind of let that go and see where your guidance took you, what next thing came up. And I think that's such an important point, because particularly in, you know, in alternative health, or when it comes to food and diets, we can be presented, I mean, I've fallen into this where, you know, I've followed a diet because that's the diet that's supposed to fix irritable bowel syndrome or whatever, you know, like this is going to be the thing. And so, I mean, I followed all kinds of different diets, and whilst following them, I felt miserable after a few weeks, you know, just totally miserable after the first few weeks or months of them. And rather than just kind of let that go and see what else there was for me, I kind of found myself, you know, just properly in there and fearful of what would happen if I stopped doing it. And I think what I love in what you're sharing is, I mean, that may have come up for you, but just that ability to navigate following your own internal guidance, knowing that there isn't one fixed path for all of us. So what, you know, there could, that diet that I did, it didn't work for me. It works for lots of people, but every body is different.
Yeah.
And that when we actually listen to the body rather than somebody telling us you've got to do this because that's going to fix you, there's something in that. I don't know whether you can say, you know, more about your experience around that.
No, there is, exactly, because if you think about how we all live our life when we're children, we've all got different layers of not just physical experiences, but also relationship and trauma and emotional and energetic. And this is exactly it. Is I found an autoimmune diet and I thought, this is it. This is fun. And I, much the same as you, I was just so miserable. And I love food. I love eating.
Yeah.
And it all become about, you're not allowed to eat this. You can't have that. And we'd sort of go out for food and there was nothing I could eat. And I just felt so miserable. And I remember not long after starting it, we went to France and I'd removed gluten and dairy, which I still don't eat, but this diet was particularly strict.
Yeah.
And a whole holiday was miserable because in France, it's about, you know, the pastries, baguettes, cheese, but I've decided I'm on this diet and that's it. I couldn't believe it till I got back. I'm on this diet. I needed an answer and I'm really, really driven. And I was miserable. And this is a really important underlying aspect, is if you're miserable, your body's not in a state of healing anyway. No, you're not in balance. If you're either beating yourself up, making yourself feel guilty, denying yourself things that you enjoy and make you happy, it's really about creating a balance. And this is why guidance is really good for somebody, because often when you reach a point when you want to pay someone to help you, you're pretty low, or your symptoms have reached such a point, and it's often like an onion. I see it's like an onion, and each thing you're taking a layer off. And I have to say to people, you're not going to start this and in a month you'll feel well, and you may feel worse before you feel better. You know, it's not, healing's not linear, but actually you have to take into account everyone's experiences and look at all of their symptoms. And there's often a much bigger picture, and there could have been a toxicity that one person's experienced that someone else hasn't, so they may need a slightly different protocol. But the fundamental first thing for people to understand and really believe is their body can heal. Their body's working for them. If you think about all of the things our bodies do every day naturally without us even thinking about it, it's just incredible. And the fact that we can grow another human being inside us, it's just magical. So I think understanding first and foremost your body can heal, is capable of healing, and that really is the first point. And then from there, really depends on the person. And there's not, you know, for you to go and buy a book and think this is going to be the answer, amazing that you've wanted to explore something else, but you could end up feeling like you failed and then going back to where you were before. And this is what a lot of people do who I've experienced, who I've seen, is they might start looking down the holistic route, doesn't work immediately, and they're so fearful that they then go back on the medication. You know, they're sort of stuck between the two worlds, and just having some guidance when they're at that stage can really make a difference. Because I know for me, I'd been physically unwell for so long that I just didn't have the energy, the enthusiasm. I was so exhausted, and I had kids obviously, and I was still working, but physically I felt like my body was literally giving up on me. I just couldn't do daily functions properly anymore. And so I just reached such a low point where I just thought, at one point I actually thought that I was dying. My body was completely packing up. My doctor thought I had lymphoma and sent me off for a scan because all my lymph nodes are enlarged. But I'd got to a point where I just thought, I know that my body is shouting at me, there's no way it can carry on like this, and there has to be an intervention, something has to happen. And so I think there's certainly not one thing that fits everybody, but there will be something out there for everybody. And everybody, their body's capable of healing, no matter what their story is, where they are now. It may mean they have to take a slightly different path, But I think understanding there's nothing wrong with your body, it's not faulty, it's not genetic, it's not something you've done wrong necessarily, it's just your body needs help, and you just need to find what it needs for it to bring itself back into balance.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And I think the power of that, just those words, your body can heal. If we, you know, even if, I mean, I always come back to this because it blows my mind that we don't appreciate this more. The placebo effect, it's a well-known effect where if somebody is told that a medication is going to work, it almost always will work, almost to the same degree, and sometimes more than the actual medication. And it's a sugar pill. And so, you know, that power of the mind, and how the mind, you know, the mind and the body are one. The body is just reflecting the mind. It's like, for me, I love the idea that the body is a barometer of the mind. You know, it's just showing us where the mind's at, whether it's just too busy and caught up in crazy stories, or whether it's open and relaxed. And just knowing that, just even if people can get even a sense that their body is miraculous and has the ability to do miraculous things, there's healing in that. And like you say, the fear and the restrictions that, you know, when we're on a diet and we're restricted and we're hating it and we're analyzing everything and we're going into our bodies and assessing the, you know, how are we today, and, you know, it's all kind of inward reflection on me, that ramps up. It's all ramping up the thought, the mind, the busyness, which has in turn an impact on the physical body. So just, I love those words that you shared, that, you know, that's so simple, but if people could take away from that, the body is perfect. It does miraculous things every day.
It's amazing. And I know with my health anxiety, the power of the mind, when you focus on a symptom, and you feel this accelerating, and then you feel like you can't breathe and there's palpitations, the mind is so incredibly powerful. So if you think how powerful it can be to exaggerate symptoms, how powerful is it the other way when you're healing and you can apply it in the other way? But for me, for healing physically, the freedom that I found from that and the self-empowerment, and now I completely trust my inner voice. So I'll give you an example which sounds really crazy, and the old me would never have done this. People just can't believe how much I've changed. But I had this guidance to sell our house. So I said to my husband, let's sell the house. Where are we going to live? I said, I don't know. Something's going to come up for us. Well, how do you know? I just know. Where are we going to live? I don't know. but I don't know. But I know when we sell this house and we clear this space and we put out to the universe that we want to move and what we want, an opportunity will arise. And I can understand it's hard for people to get their head around that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's given me such a sense of peace, just completely trusting and not thinking ahead. You know, if you think ahead, you feel anxious. If you beat yourself up for the past, you feel depressed. Trying to be more mindful and in the moment has been really life-changing for me. And actually, when I was unwell, it was all about what was wrong with me. And I realised that's all I talked about. I was constantly telling people I felt so unwell. I was programming my brain that I was faulty, I was poorly, I was unwell, and it was a constant thing. Now I look back and realise how many years of my life was not only lost to feeling physically unwell, but the anxiety that come with it and the whole mindset of avoiding things because I felt too unwell. So now I'm grateful for every day. I've never felt better. I've never felt more healthy. I feel so empowered. We're doing amazing things in our local community to try to help empower people to take back their own health and use what nature provided for us to heal with. And I just feel grateful every day for being alive, and so grateful for my body. And I thank my body every day. I thank my body every day for serving me, for looking after me. And I feel like, I just feel like I'm in just such a beautiful space of peace now. And when I see other people suffering, I think everyone deserves to be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
No one should be suffering like this. And if your only answer, as we've been educated to happen, your only answer is you see your doctor, you're given a diagnosis, and that's it. That's what's wrong with you. That's it for life now. There's more than that. There's more than that. Everyone can be happy and healthy. I would love everyone I know who struggles with anxiety to be as at peace as I am now. I would just love it. And you know, there is a way. And so I think that there seems to be a real movement at the moment, a movement of awakening, but a movement of people even just standing in their own power. That in itself can really influence somebody else who's watching them. So it's really spreading. Certainly within my family, there's quite a lot of anxiety, and I've seen my sisters make some real changes in their life. You know, you can't force anybody, but you can live your life in a certain way, and then people take things away, or when they're ready, they may ask. And so I've seen it with people around me, how much they've really changed the way they live, or the way they eat, or the way they're thinking, or the way they're feeling about themselves. And it's just absolutely beautiful. It just fills my...
It's amazing, isn't it? And I've got two things that come out of what you just shared. Firstly, I'm really curious to know, with the thyroid diagnosis, what's the, you know, you've obviously said the symptom, you don't have the symptoms anymore. So I presume you haven't been back to the doctor, had tests, or I'm just curious to know, like.
No, well, I actually went, I completely forgot all about it. So when I saw my endocrinologist, and she said, look, all of your levels are really good. Whatever you're doing, carry on doing it. I thought that I'd been discharged. I was called back recently for a scan because I had a nodule on my thyroid, and I completely forgot all about it, because as far as I'm concerned, thyroid disease isn't me anymore. I've left that behind me. And I went and had the scan, and it's shrunk to literally nothing. So I know eventually that will go. I've got no concerns about it whatsoever. But yes, so my research led me down a path of discovering that most thyroid disease actually has a viral origin. And that what happens is, and it's usually Epstein-Barr virus, what happens is, and with any autoimmune disease, it's usually like a viral and a toxicity element. But what happens is, when the virus itself or the neurotoxins are attacking a certain part of your body creates inflammation to actually protect itself from that attack. So it's not attacking itself. The symptoms that you get are a result of your body actually only ever trying to protect you. And so what I learned from that is that Epstein-Barr, when I looked back over the years at all my symptoms, I had a 16 centimeter fibroid removed. There's a lot of things that are all linked to Epstein-Barr virus. And when I understood that, and I thought, you know what, all of these symptoms are actually my body trying to heal itself, it completely changed my outlook on it. And so really the protocol was healing foods, removing foods that feed the viral load, detoxifying, which we do naturally anyway, but help. We live in, I mean, the world we live in now has never been as toxic as it is now. Human beings have never been subjected to what we are now. And then, sort of antiviral protocol, but using herbs, so using natural antiviral herbs and really rebuilding my immune system. And then in line with that, the mindset thing was really key for me. But what triggered that was understanding that all of my symptoms that I've been moaning about and held me back were my body just acting in protection. And so I was like, it all just makes complete sense. So for me, that was the real light bulb moment. And so I think the thyroid disease itself, so I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which again is a label, isn't it, for a huge collection of symptoms, which
we don't know the cause of.
It's just your fibro. What's the answer? Medication. There's no other there's no natural alternative. So for me, also really reconnecting with nature was huge, and spending more time outside and being more mindful. And even in our garden, we were out there last week with the kids because I do mindfulness things with them, and you can hear so many birds. But you know, a few years ago, my mind had been so bogged down with thought and worry and questions that I wasn't even living in that moment. So I think being empowered to know my body is amazing, it only ever works for me, why don't I work for it and help it, so we can work as a team instead of fighting against each other all the time. and it's completely changed my life. My life is transformed. I said, I've never been happier. I've never felt healthier. I spent years worrying about getting cancer and being unwell, and I have no fear of any illness anymore. I just know that I'll continue to support my body, give it what it needs, and if it's in a state of balance, it can deal with almost anything on its own anyway. So losing that fear was a huge thing for me. I think fear held me back for years, and with all what's been going on with COVID, understandably, a lot of people have been put back into fear. But as I said earlier, when you're in fear, you're in fight or flight mode. Your body cannot heal.
No,
you can't even think straight. So really having this time, the last couple of years, has really propelled me forward with a mission to try to reach as many people as possible, to really take their power back. So my strapline is reclaim your power, reclaim your health, and reclaim your life. Live the life now you want to live. Instead of thinking, oh, in 10 years time I want to be here, like, live that now. You should wake up and you should be doing what lights you up. You should get up in the morning and think, I'm really excited for this day. It's going to be amazing. I want that for everybody. That's what life needs to be about. Life is, we have such a short time on this planet, don't we? We don't have long. Loving every single minute of it. And understandably, if you're physically unwell, you can't love it. But no, there's things that they can do in line with nature. It's not going to have any horrible side effects. To start to reclaim their health back and then life. It's just amazing.
It is. It's beautiful. So I love what you shared, because it's so contrary to what we're all led to believe, particularly with health, which is we, from a very young age, we hand our health over to somebody else to look after. We go to the doctors and they fix us. And what you're sharing is know that we can come back to ourselves and we can empower ourselves. We're set up to heal. And yes, we may need support medically for certain things, but there's also things that we can do to support the body. And I just think, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you.
Apart from an emergency situation, I can't see myself going to my doctor ever again, unless it was a, an A&E emergency medicine. I don't feel any need. I'm so in tune with my body now, and I'm giving it what it needs. I just feel like we're in perfect harmony.
It's gorgeous. It's amazing, isn't it? To come that from where you came from to that. It's
incredible. And I think it seems easy saying it, but I mean, there is obviously a road to go from there to there, but it's just, it's amazing. It is possible, and it's completely life-changing. And I wish I knew then what I know now.
Which is why you do what you do, to help people to see what that is. So on that, because I don't want to finish without making sure that people know how to find you and how they can work with you. We were just talking about the fact that you're going to be running a thyroid program. I presume that's going to be online.
It's online, so it's starting on the 6th of June, and it will be a 90-day program. So there'll be 12 weekly online sessions with some homework, and come together as a group with other people who know how they all feel, because they're all dealing with not necessarily the same symptoms, but they've all got a thyroid issue. And with me there, who's been there and done it, so I know what they're experiencing. I know how it feels, and I think if they join, they've reached that point where they want to try something new. But if you think about energetics, if they're drawn to me and my story, then they obviously are ready to now take a step in slightly into the unknown, but to start to look at holistically healing themselves.
Absolutely. So how do people find out about that, and any other way they can work with you? If you've got a website.
So I'm on, sadly my website's down at the moment, but that will be back up soon. But on Instagram and Facebook, I'm Danielle Dixon Wellness Coach, and there's a link on there you can subscribe to the newsletter as well. So if you're not, I try to avoid social media a bit more now. I'm naturally feeling pulling away from it, but it is an amazing tool for certain things, and I'll continue to use it as such. But there is a list there that you can subscribe. So if people don't want to look up on social media, then I'll send everything out on a newsletter.
Brilliant. And I've got one final question. which keeps coming back to me. What happened about selling the house? Where did you end up?
Well, we're doing the work now to sell the house. So I've
Wow.
booked a valuation for next Saturday.
Right.
So I gave myself a deadline because I knew if I didn't, you know, the mind plays tricks on us, doesn't it? We
Yeah.
can say, oh, but you like the house, should you stay? So I've just said to my husband, valuation Saturday, we need to get the jobs done. So we've been working hard to just do a few jobs.
Oh.
And then just see where it takes us.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about it. I just know something beautiful is going to happen. I know. I don't know what.
Wow.
But I just know that I feel like now I'm living in alignment and I'm true to myself and I'm on a path. I'm just going to trust what comes my way and see it as a stepping stone really towards living the life I want. So it's a bit crazy. No one really understands, but
I understand.
I don't care what anyone else thinks anymore. I'm just going to go for it.
I think people listening to this podcast will understand. It's really about listening to that inner guidance and aligning with that at all times, isn't it? And it may, and those messages can sometimes be quite confronting. And as you say, the mind can kind of go, no, it's not the right time, or it's not whatever. But just to know that when we follow those messages, life doesn't go wrong. I mean, it's like things unfold beautifully.
And it often doesn't make sense at the time, but if you can hold trust, it's going to be all right. And you know, you often are pushed, aren't you? You have to push through some fear sometimes, and then you're sort of, you know, you've shedded another layer, and you're one more step forward. It, you know, doesn't mean things aren't going to come up for you again. It doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges and things you have to face that really push you out of your comfort zone. But as I said, for me 10 years ago, very controlled, everything planned, for me to have said, let's just sell the house, and if we have to live in a temporary accommodation for a bit, or we rent for a few months, we just put stuff in storage, like that. Never. Never. But it's amazing.
I love it.
So exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what happens and where you end up. And
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, you have to keep me posted. Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as a guest. And I will put all the links to your social media pages and whatever below so that people can find you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And it's just so lovely that you're doing these interviews. And if each one someone could take away hope in one area of their life, it's just incredible. And spread the hope. Hope and love. The world is what we need.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I will see you soon, Danielle.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.